time. Okay, that should be me. Can you speak again here?
Hello?
There we go. I believe that should do it. Let us know if you can hear us in the chat.
Have we been silent the entire time?
I think we probably were. It looks like my devices got reset in OBS. May have been a Windows update or something that did that. But oh well.
It's our new Kirin cosplay.
I guess
Kirin
so.
stream.
Yeah.
Into the stream of silence, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. Geez. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, but do please.
Yeah, I think you can hear us.
Okay. So I guess I'll give the quick rundown again because nobody heard it. BABSCon results first, and then we'll talk about the recent supplement announcement that happened last week, Sunday.
Yeah.
Right. So, Sonnet Scrolls top 8 deck list, Rarity Ambassador Generosity with pink sprinkled in. I don't remember. Did I decide for myself that this deck was control or mid range? It is.
Has blackmail.
Has blackmail. It has Party of One.
I mean, this is a control deck. It doesn't seem mid-range to me at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, pink for the removal and little bodyguard. Ender taps is here for, well, yeah, for many things.
Because it's a good card.
Yeah. Cost 2 or less is, it's not everything in this deck, but it's a lot of things.
It's a lot of good things, too. I think it's only Mistmain and Pinkie Pie. So that's...
And Tender taps himself, which is obviously important.
Yeah, but...
Yeah. I guess the field in general, I guess, just so that it's clear, we can perhaps make some summations about it. There was a mostly aggro field, I think, right? A lot of, I mean, there were the 2 Octavias, a lot of Bluna. Yeah, a little bit of farm. It was mostly an aggro and farm tournament.
Yeah.
Which I guess means that the control players are, well, control that focuses mostly on removal, especially white removal, which tends not to be immediate speed. Although there is a lot of immediate speed pink removal in here.
Yeah, I don't think this deck lacks an immediate speed removal.
Yeah. Yeah. And reliving history is pretty good against Bluna.
Yeah.
So,
Although you don't... Well, I guess I do have a lot of unicorns, especially with bodyguards.
yeah, I mean, the unicorns are, well, the secondary text is pretty good, I guess. It's...
Yeah, I think against Bluna it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, Bluna decks usually use hasty and stuff, so if you
Well,
move
yeah.
her back,
Yeah.
they'll just play another card.
Well, yeah, between the bodyguard and Claude and Sweetie Belle, all unicorn, Miss Main
And
actually
Miss
as
Main,
well.
yeah.
Yeah, and your main. All right, does it only count friends? No, characters.
Oh yeah, main is also a unicorn. Yeah, yeah. I think like main and bodyguards are already enough because you just need to remove one thing.
Hmm. So in that sense, actually, well, yeah, probably a pretty good choice against all the Bluna that did show up.
Yeah. You know, on one hand, and banning Berry Punch would help this deck against Bluna. On the other hand, it would help Bluna too.
Yeah, I feel like it probably would help Bluna more.
Yeah. We should have a new format, which is Nightmare Adventure, where it's adventure, but without the banned cards.
Adventure without, but that's just Orange Farm.
Oh yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, we've been there already, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh well. Okay, we can ban one card.
Okay. Just Applejack.
Yeah.
Um. Other than that, seems like pretty the usual stuff. Wrinkle in Time's a good inclusion if you're against all the farm stuff that you're expecting to see. And I guess it's worth noting always when you're going to these cons, the major ones, that we knew the decks that Grandpa's or not sorry GP wasn't playing, but Cheese, Ivory, and Aura's decks would have been known.
Yeah.
And Aracat, especially playing the strange Bluna farm, likely would have been relatively reliant on its flips as well. So Wrinkle is a good tech against that, I would expect.
Curious about Claude. Do you use in this deck? Do you use it on your resources, or is it worth it?
Of course.
Like there are plenty of good resources here. You have Staff, you have Bell,
Mm-hmm.
but do you use Claude on them, or do you use Claude on the opposing resources?
Um.
Does it even need Claude? Like you have Fashion Overload, so could be not. Well, I guess Fashion
Yeah.
Overload also gets rid of your own,
Yeah.
but I don't think you care that much about that.
I mean, do you have much
I mean, look.
experience with Bell actually sort of working for its intended
Oh
effect?
no,
Because for
no. Every time I use Bell, it's like I don't like it's my. I guess it's my thing, but I don't really like Bell,
mhm,
and even when I play like farm stuff and other things, people tell me like, "Oh, you should include Bell in the deck." I was like, "Nah."
yeah. So if we look at it merely as a 1 cost 6 power friend with Claude in play, like that's not bad, frankly. If you're playing it just for the Claude effect or as fodder for Fashion Overload,
But like in this deck, you don't really need 6 power anywhere. Like, well, I guess confronting opposing problems sometimes, but
mhm,
I don't know. Like this deck doesn't win by having power, right?
in general, not. I mean, you can always there's always an argument in favor of being able to. Well, no, yeah, you don't need that for that. So in that sense, I suppose, yeah, you are probably using Claude more for opponents' resources.
And even if you use like Bell as 1 cost 6 power friend, you still gotta move it, right? So
Yeah.
it's a 3 cost 6 power friend, really. But yeah, perhaps they thought that Fashion Overload is like it's a single copy of Fashion Overload.
Hmm.
I guess you do need Claude, but I would rather have 3 Fashion Overloads. Like, you have plenty of resources to retire. You have speeches, you have fire friendships.
Hmm.
Like, once you have your pink on, you don't really need any more pink, I think.
Yep. Even if you've got a spare Pinkie Sense lying around, it's 0 cost to put into play if you're gonna just retire it into
Yeah.
something else. Even maybe use it immediately speed.
Yeah.
Is that? No, look at it. Is that all the all the resource removal that's in here?
Yeah, Claude and Fashion Overload, that's it. I mean, pink and white don't have much else. Petit Sneeze, I guess.
Hmm.
So there aren't many options to choose from, but I think Fashion Overload is like more than enough if you include free copies.
Probably. You're most worried about, well, opposing staffs, obviously.
I mean, using Claude in an opposing staff is not great.
That's the thing, yeah.
I mean, it's better than nothing, but not amazing either. So yeah, I don't know. I would just include more Fashion Overloads, but maybe I don't like. I don't remember what I ranked Claude at,
Hmm.
but I think I've been kind of skeptical about that card at all. Like, it's hard for me to see its use. Like, it's an interesting card for sure,
Hmm.
but I don't think it. Like, I can't imagine a situation where, like, oh, in this deck, Claude would be amazing.
Right.
So maybe that's why I don't see. Maybe I'm just missing something.
Could be, yeah.
Maybe there
Maybe.
is some use that I'm not seeing.
Yeah. I mean, perhaps in Sonnet's meta, local meta, things are just
Yeah,
different. Anyway,
next deck.
sure. Uh,
Well, I think that's the Sonnet's local meta.
oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, Sketchbeam here with some mono blue farm. Boop-a-doo. I feel like he was like, this is Dash Master Loyalty. I feel like this is very similar to Ivory's deck.
I rate this deck Trixie out of 10.
Why not? It's got the highest level unicorns in it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, actually, I guess. But wait a second. The canonical mono blue Rainbow Dash farm from Adventure before Fond Memories. It run another epic instead of what is now Nightmare Moon. Something get moved aside to put Nightmare Moon in, or is it just even more epics?
Chrysalis, maybe? But I don't think they ran Chrysalis.
Well, okay,
I guess Storm King was a thing as well.
right. Well, there's no Pony of Shadows in here. That's one thing.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, which is a little interesting now that I think about it. You would, I mean, I guess pulling property damage would be a little bit less, more underwhelming. But other than that, all your friends are pretty good to get off of Pony of Shadows.
I guess more points is more valuable. Because, well, so what would you remove here for Pony of Shadows? Well, Nightmare Moon is just like point. Like, you don't really care about her effect, right? Maybe
Ah,
you do.
if you can land it, it's real good. Like if you play it turn one and your opponent has to discard half their hand, that's worth it.
Yeah, yeah. But is it worth more than a friend?
Well, that's something that would have to. I think you kind of just have to get to know that from playing the deck and
Yeah.
See if you still have enough sort of momentum, even without the extra boost that From the Shadows gives you.
So in Ivory's deck, actually, he doesn't have Trixies, which I disapprove, but he has Ponyo Shadows.
Right. Yeah, the Trixie is, I guess, a little bit of the odd. Or at least I don't remember it being like it wasn't a super consistent inclusion in Adventure Farm.
I would rather have Trixie than Starlight, I think.
Right. Like it
Like,
is.
while I think Starlight's effect is not as good as Trixie's.
Well, so Trixie is a little bit. Well, okay. All of the if you have a diligent trigger and you beat Trixie with it, that works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that means that most of the effects on these friends would work. Thunderlanes, Daybreakers, Rutherfords. The only real issue would be playing Swinging Wonders to a Trixie, which.
Actually, Diligent might not work, now that I think of it. Because Diligent triggers when you win a face-off, right?
Right, and
Trixie is
Trixie
still
doesn't.
definitely in play.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah. So Trixie would be a little bit of an awkward troublemaker to farm for most of these friends.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's only like one Diligent card here, which is
Well, Thunderlane's diligent,
Thunderlane.
but Daybreaker is when you win a face-off, score a point. Rutherford is when you win a
Yeah,
face-off, do his thing.
yeah. I still think Trixie is good.
I mean, no one thought I was going to be able to convince you otherwise.
I would run Trixie any day.
Otherwise, I guess nothing particularly unexpected in the cards that ended up going into here from Fond Memories. Everyone knew Rainbow Laser was a farm card as soon as they saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Wanna bet's just zero cost, score an extra point.
Yep.
And yeah, as we mentioned, Nightmare Moon. I mean, she's a fine epic, 2.6 power. And if you do manage to land her effect, great.
I just noticed that when a bet says a player, it doesn't say you.
Uh-huh.
So theoretically, you can force opponent to score an extra point. Which, I mean, I don't think it's useful, but that's interesting.
It'd be an interesting, risky play. I mean, you could.
I mean, you could use it to like make them reach the AT threshold.
Yeah, that's the main
to gain
usage.
518.
You are giving your opponent a point in exchange for one more AT next turn.
Yeah. I like.
It's
It would be really fun to use that in the game, though.
absolutely right. It's one of those things that you'd love to actually see happen, but it's a very narrow use case.
Like, you could feel like real Galaxy Brain when they defeat the troublemaker and then you play one a bet and force them to score one extra point. But yeah, otherwise, I don't know. I don't think there's much. Well, maybe like I haven't actually seen the decks in advance, so I don't know what other decks. Like, I know they're farm.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know. Maybe Lunas are not farm, but I think they are, right?
Well, most of the Blunas are aggro. I think just
Yeah.
Aracat was playing
Oh,
farm.
I agree. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I guess
But there isn't much diversity as far as like farm decks go. That's my
Yeah.
impression of them. It's been my impression of them like since I started playing this game. Farm decks are usually known, like, okay, between colors, farm decks are very, very different, and that's really cool.
Mhm.
But within one color, farm decks are always very similar to each other.
Yeah, and that's a little interesting now
Like
that I think about it.
blue does its own thing with farm, and that's how everyone does it. And then there's orange, which also has like one specific way to farm. Which, I mean, before AJ ban, it was just all AJ and maybe sometimes mod, but now it's, I guess, a little bit different.
Mhm. And
And then we
purple.
have purple farm, which is the best farm.
Mhm.
We need purple farm back. We need that's the reason to keep Harmony around. Good old Twilight purple farm.
I mean, yeah. Gee, that deck's been around since the start, basically.
Yeah, it's the best farm. My favorite farm.
Yeah. The one thing I guess I did just notice is that this deck does have 54 cards in it. So quite a ways over.
One card over.
Oh well, yeah, one card over that. 4 cards over what you'd expect. So perhaps just a little bit of desire to try to counter everything.
Yeah, but you could like include, like, if you notice, every card is a free off here. You
Oh,
could, like, do you really need 3 Grogger layers? Could maybe get that to 2.
that's I mean, Grogar's Lair is really good against aggro, especially Bluna aggro.
Do you really need 3 Wonder Bats?
Yeah, that's a fair question. Or even
You could maybe cut 1 Winterzilla since you have Rainbow Dash as well in this
Mhm.
deck, so.
Mhm.
Or maybe cut Rainbow Dash, I think. Because Rainbow Dash is kind of specific and Winterzilla is more flexible.
Yeah, 2 and 3 or 3 and 1 or something of that one way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perhaps this was just a bit of a rougher. Well, I was gonna say rougher draft of a deck. That with some tuning could be cut down to 50 relatively.
Yeah. But the 4 cards over is not too bad.
Yeah. And
GP would yell at the screen right now, but he's not here.
indeed. And I mean, he made top 8 with it, so
Yeah. Okay, next deck.
yes. Yes, okay. Shoot. I was just a little confused there for a second, but yeah, next deck. Is this? Yeah, this is cheese.
I like that I can always count on cheese to play something good. As in something purple or
Something
control.
purple. I mean, sometimes it's pink main, purple
I mean,
off
sometimes,
color.
but it's usually control.
Well, yes. Yeah,
You can
generally so.
count on cheese for playing good decks, as I said. I said what I said.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yeah, this has got a lot of the usual standouts of Guidance Counselor, Factory Jack, even Zakora for some more AT generation. Uh, now that we've got a good host of good enough orange events, Apple Bloom is a card that I've seen included in more control decks lately. As
Makes sense.
yeah, it just kind of turns all of your events into bailouts. Well, all of your orange events. Bailout gets turned into double bailout.
Yeah. Does this do Mist Main combo kind of things? Because, like, well, maybe like not the pure combo because this is mostly control-ish, I
Mhm.
presume. But like most of the friends here generate AT.
Yep. Yeah, I imagine that's probably the kind of best case scenario. If you have a lock on the game, then sure, rank up your AT, do a miss main thing. Otherwise, you could get just kind of, well, as is the case in any tournament, it's kind of only thing you care about is being ahead when time runs out.
Yeah. Oh, look at all those epics to farm.
Yeah, there's frankly, Glimmer Chrono Trigger is a little bit off in a control deck. I guess that's probably is another path to take. And I guess we do have barrel through. But perhaps it is kind of a half farm deck as well.
But I mean, just run Trixie. Remember all those reasons you said, like, oh, Trixie is not so good in the farming deck because it disables your friends? Well, that's a reason to run her here.
I mean, yeah, I guess. What does Starlight give you that Trixie doesn't? I mean, she gives you anti-combo, everyone always knows, but there was no combo in this tournament. And Cheese, of all people, would know that there wasn't going to be any.
Yeah, like Starlight, I guess, prevents some deck stacking, but like, I don't know. She doesn't do much, I think, compared to Trixie. Because, I mean, even if Trixie is kind of like counterproductive to you, you play her, so you can, like, you choose when to play her. You can choose to play her when it's best for you and the worst for your opponent. It's not like she comes up. And I mean, Starlight can also screw you over, especially since, like,
Your deck doesn't
there's
have a
so
whole lot of
many.
friends in it, yeah.
It's not only friends. Like, you have a lot of 2-offs and things like that, so they can get banished. So, for example, you have Mysterious Disappearance, which is it the only resource removal here? I think it is. So imagine Starlight like banishes both of them. It'd be pretty sad.
Well, that is a pretty greedy choice, isn't it? Only 2 mysterious disappearances?
I mean, I can kind of recycle them, although I guess I don't see any top deck stacking here.
Oh yeah, you're not.
Is there?
Not that I can tell. There's no. Like, yeah, you're not banking on flipping them. You're playing them.
Probably
Perhaps
fine.
perhaps there's more. Perhaps there's more farm to this than I thought. Because like these sort of decisions kind of lean you more towards thinking that we're trying to end the game faster. Like maybe this is more of a farm deck than a control deck. Well, it sure looks like a control deck.
I don't know. I doesn't. Well, like the only thing here is that those Starlights. Without them, I would definitely not call this a farm deck ever.
Well, even just the confidence in being able to run such a small amount of resource removal. Like in the control context, you would put in like Luna's Future or something. That's a relatively
Special
easy
beam
event to
cannon,
include.
maybe.
Yeah, Hyper Beam. Well, you don't have a whole lot of unicorns.
One of those features is, I don't know, like, you don't really have anything to portal, so you would not include it just to banish resources. You're better off with special beam cannon.
I guess so.
Like, yeah, there's that put free counters and troublemaker thing, but
No
it's
one ever
kind
does
of
that. Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't say no one, but
Okay, I'll admit I have actually done it before, but
yeah, me too.
yeah. Yeah, and Prism Light points out in the chat, Starlight has the ability to just get rid of your ability to miss main loop as well.
Yeah. Yeah, since there's only 2 missed mains, if she happens to banish one of them, it's kind of sad. So I don't know. I'm not convinced on Starlight. I would rather on Trixie. Or some other villain. If there's... Are there any villains?
Villains. Well, Trixie, obviously. Others.
Yeah, other than Trixie.
Other than... Well, I assume you only want epic villains.
Yeah, we don't...
Yeah.
We don't... What's her name? The Maniac. There we go.
Yeah. Oh, maybe there aren't any other epic villains. They're all just normal epics.
Yeah.
That deck that we just looked at before. Basically all of them in it. Yeah.
I guess we have Chrysalis as like pseudo villain.
Close. Yeah, close. Close. I kind of want to... Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe when we're done here, I'll watch the stream from a month ago where Sim talks about this, because looking at it now, I'm kind of curious what the idea behind this deck was. Like, as you say, it really looks like control, but there's some questionable decisions in here for a control deck that, you know, Cheese knows what he's doing. I have to assume there were good reasons there.
Maybe 2 mysterious disappearances is enough.
Is it enough if you were expecting the game to go to time?
It might be. Maybe you don't care about opposing resources. Like, what do you care about? You care about sticks, I guess.
Well, like in a blue farm world, which must be what you expect in adventure, it's stick, it's Flash Magnus' shield.
I would include Rest in Pieces for sure.
Rest in
If I was
Pieces
worried
is
about
a
resources.
pretty good option, yes.
I guess I also care about Grogus Lair for blue things.
Right.
Maybe not as much. You don't have so many friends, but it's still annoying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, Prism Light, thank you. Maybe it's leaning farther in the Mistbane combo direction that you pointed out right off the start than I had thought.
Yeah, but like you don't have so much AT gen. Like, wouldn't it be better to just go all in on AT generation instead of having this like kind of control kind of thing? But I do guess all of the events here are pretty cheap. You don't really have expensive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And villains do slow down game in against some decks.
Yep. And for what it's worth, Tranquility is kind of AT gen too, technically.
Yeah.
Like I say, yeah, I am genuinely interested because we have like come up with 3 plausible explanations for what the deck is trying to do already. And I'm not sure which one's right.
Okay, the answer is in problem decks, right?
Yeah.
No. It seems pretty standard, I guess, with the exception of Spell Showdown, which makes sense for this deck.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's how you put Mysterious Disappearances on top. You just wait for them to be on top of your deck.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh yeah, Spell Showdown puts it in your hand, so... Oh, you may, so you can keep it on top if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Can't put it down. I thought it was kind of like Meticulous. You look at the event. Oh, and if it's an event, you can like... Never mind. It's not how that works.
Yeah.
Oh well, cool deck. I always like to see some purple.
Absolutely.
Needs more Trixie though.
It's gonna be the last purple for a while.
I
On
think
this stream.
for this, yeah.
Yeah, it's the last 2-color deck up to the top, actually. Or, well, 3-color deck, I guess. More than 1-color deck.
Yeah.
It is all mono blue except for Bugle after this.
What do you mean free color? Oh, it has some white, right?
And white, yeah.
It doesn't really count.
White never counts. That's the problem.
How do you enter white anyway? Oh, you have
Uh,
barrels. Okay. Yeah.
Barrel. Yeah.
Right, barrel is a thing.
And Rushed Makeover.
Yeah, I saw 2 makeovers, like, that's not enough. But I forgot about barrels.
Okay. So, speaking of, shall we move on?
Yeah.
Alrighty. We already kind of brought up Ivory's deck a little bit earlier, because it
Mm-hmm.
is very similar to Sketchbeam's deck. Cut down to 50 cards. Actually, I kind of want to look at them side by side. Well,
They have some differences. Ivory doesn't have rainbow dashes,
mhm,
which like the resource disabling ones. Ivory has uneven ground.
right. Uneven
Uh,
ground and GG as well, yeah.
yes, and riled up. I think Sketchbeam didn't have riled up.
Yeah.
Maybe he did. No, I don't think he did.
Riled up. He did not. No. And
Yeah.
see, now that's kind of interesting, right? Because Ivory has the Pony of Shadows, despite actually having the worse friend composition between the Uneven Ground and the GGs. Like, those are two that you kind of don't want to see come out of Pony of Shadows.
Yeah. No, I guess uneven ground is fine. I don't think you float on a lot of 18 in this deck, right?
In farming decks, you generally don't, yes.
Yeah. And if it comes up from Pony of Shadows, it usually comes up on your turn, I would presume. So
Mhm.
you would have time to spend those 80. Unless the opponent defeats your Pony of Shadows, that's not great.
Well, I mean, who's actually going to defeat a Pony of Shadows walking into a farm deck?
Yeah. An anti-farm deck.
Well, I guess this is farm by definition. It's kind of anti-farm, I guess.
In a way, yeah. Fight
Um,
fire with fire.
yeah, riled up is a well, it's tech against orange is all it's ever been used for in farm, but is good, especially in adventure with with bailout coming around as well.
Yeah. There's no reason, like, if you're not up against orange, you sideboard riled up, right? Because there's no other use for it.
I'm pretty sure you do. I guess in theory you could use it to ready your main after you exhausted her to move her.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
like only if you need to confront something right away,
yeah,
which is kind of specific.
yep. So yeah, probably a sideboard. Well, yeah, in most of the matches in this tournament, I would expect that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing when it comes to Ivory. You know, he would know what Cheese was bringing, and so would know to bring some anti-control in there,
Mm-hmm.
anti-orange.
Yeah. But yeah, otherwise it's kind of the same deck. I would say it's
In
very similar.
large part, I wonder, is the problem deck the same? No, it's slightly different. What's the difference? Okay, Ivory has Ready to Fight. and Sketch had Surprise Takeoff instead. And then Ivory has, or rather, Sketch has Mystery at Hope Hollow. Ivory has Moving Out.
Hmm.
So, those might just be kind of stylistic decisions.
Yeah, I think I would rather have Mystery at Hope's Hollow than Ready to Fight.
Make sure
Like
I'm
I think in this deck you can kind of already win the face-offs. Like I don't think winning face-offs is not much of an issue for a deck like this, right? It's kind of built to do it, and Mystery at Hope's Hollow helps you find more troublemakers.
Yep.
Which can be no issue for farm decks, right? Running out of troublemakers to play.
Right. I mean, neither of these decks are particularly short on troublemakers.
No, but like you sometimes run out of them anyway.
It's true. It's true.
Especially if things are not
Ivory's,
going too well for you.
yeah, Ivory's deck I guess, does have the slightly fewer number of them. Or actually, wait, no. Well, Ivory has one less troublemaker, but they have the same number of epics because it's the Winter Scylla that's different.
Yeah. Yeah, 15 epics is pretty standard, but I think Mystery Top Solo is generally better. You can find sticks too, like it's versatile compared to Ready to Fight, which is just 2 power to face offs, which I don't feel like farming decks really care about 2 extra power in the face off. They win them anyway. I guess like if this was a starting problem, then I would understand, right? But
Right.
once you have the game going and like you already replaced your starting problem to something else, I don't think 2 power will be that big of a deal compared to getting an extra card.
Mm-hmm. And I guess that is a fair. Well, farming decks often don't flip the problems anyway. Now that
Well, with that logic, none of the problem deck cards matter. But I
right.
guess you can start with Mystery at Hope's Hollow. But I
That's
don't think you do.
yeah. I mean, both these decks start tarnished almost all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah. So,
I,
but yeah,
I,
that's a minor thing, I think.
yeah. Uh, yeah. That was the last of the Rainbow Dash farm. We have the one oddball farm deck coming up, which I mean, I say that, but he did get top 4 with it, so obviously something worked.
Let's go.
Yeah. So Aracat with Mono Bluna farm. You had mentioned actually earlier in the stream that generally speaking, blue does farm one way, and that's all there is. And while there are
Yeah,
definitely pieces of that in here, I mean, still Thunderlane, still Pirate Dash, and BG and Rutherford.
yeah.
There are also some other cards in here that you normally would not see in a farming deck, although they're not uncommon for a Bluna deck.
I suppose so. Yeah. You do like some hasty cards in your Bluna decks.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of a strange mashup, honestly. Like it does just kind of look like you took a Bluna aggro deck and a farm deck and mashed them together, and
Yeah, definitely feels like it.
apparently it still works.
Well, I imagine the way that it works is you play two troublemakers and you farm two troublemakers per turn because Bluna is so good at that.
Hmm.
But if not, maybe also do double face-offs because Bluna is really good at that too, compared to Ambassador of Loyalty.
Yeah, certainly better than Ambassador. It really is kind of all down to your hasty friends. I mean, I think that's kind of the logic here. An understanding that hasty friends are both great for farm and great for Bluna aggro in general.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, as long as you've got hasty friends, then you can either win aggro or win farm if you've got epics.
yeah. Another thing is this mashup kind of comes at a cost too. I believe this runs fewer epics than the other farm decks, and you also don't have as many tools. Like, there's no room for Groger's Lair, as you can see,
Hmm.
and some other useful for farm cards.
Yep. Well, I mean,
Although I would try to find a place for Groger's. Like, I think that card is just good in general. Even like maybe instead of stop fight. Well, I mean, stop fightings have their use as an immediate frighten,
hmm,
but you have Rutherford, so kind of have that already.
right.
So maybe swap like one or two fightings for Groger's Lair.
It really depends, I guess. Burgar's Lair, as I said earlier, is kind of the king anti-aggro blue card. Um, yeah, it's not like Stop Fighting is really any better placed against like a farm matchup or something. So
Yeah.
yeah, is it a better flip than Burgar's Lair?
Hey, it's yeah. Well, I think Groger's Lair is 4, right, and this is 5, so
Yeah,
I guess it
okay,
is a better
as
flip.
a marginal advantage. Yeah.
I also like method overacting in the problem deck.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting inclusion.
Uh,
I don't think there are many resources that exhaust, at least not in the decks we've seen, other than the stick.
other than staff, yeah.
But I guess that's the important one.
That's I mean, yeah. It is still and will be one of the most iconic cards of adventure and of core. I'll still here.
Yeah, and of harmony. So just in general.
Just in general, yeah.
But yeah, I guess you don't want your Thunder Lane to be frightened. It'd be pretty sad.
I mean, who is gonna well like challenging Thunderlane with stick is a risky proposition. If if you like there's a legitimate chance that you lose, and if you do, that's two diligent counters.
Well, better not lose then. I mean, if you're Ambassador of Loyalty, I think it's fine.
She's uh yeah, well yeah,
She's 5, so that's 5 versus 5.
five
And she
versus
has plus
five.
3, so it's 8. And since she's a farming deck, you flip a 7 too, so I
Wait a
think
second.
probably win.
She's ambassador is right 6 with the stick. Oh, obviously, of course, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
she
that
has 6 with a stick, plus 2 from competitive, so that's 8 total.
8 total. Yeah,
Without the flip, versus Thunder Lane, which is 5 or 7.
right. But the
I
thing
mean,
is,
7 it's a bit risky, but 5 is pretty good.
right. Well, like, when are you gonna play Thunderlane, and he's not gonna immediately win a face-off?
Yeah, true. Oh, that's another reason Stop Fighting isn't as good. Can't frighten Thunder Lane.
also, I mean, well, yeah, honestly, 4 + 1 to 5 isn't that much of a big deal, but actually, now that I think about it, is Grogar's Lair on Enter's play or on it's when you play, right?
I think it's on Enter's play. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's much better against opposing Ponyo Shadows as well.
Yeah. I mean, they have to pay 1 for their friend, which is, I guess, better than 0. But if that
Well,
friend is really good,
it's one more than they were planning on paying.
I mean,
Right.
if they see Grogar's Lair in play, I think they plan for paying too.
That is a fair point. That's right. I guess the events have the benefit of
Being reactive, yeah.
reactive. Yeah. Prism Light says he'll take Sapakli over Stop Fighting any day. The 1 extra AT for the ability to frighten anything, rather than just something with 2 or less power.
Yeah, but this deck can actually reuse Stop Fighting. It has plenty of Griffins.
That is true. Indeed, actually. 11.
Yeah. Grandpa Gruff is 1 cost, so. Which is kind of like. I see this Loyal Pony and I see this Grandpa Gruff, and it's like, oh, I wish we could get away without them, but you kind of have to run entry friends and plenty of them because otherwise you can't flip your main.
Yep. That is another one of the trade-offs that you make in this main in a farm deck.
Yeah.
You do need some low flips
Flipping
in
is
there.
harder.
In more ways than one. Flipping your main, and you get some fail flips on face-offs sometimes too.
Yeah. Although Grandpa Gruff isn't too bad because of the chaos.
Because of the chaos, not so bad. Well, he's still just a 3. Like in a farm deck, just a 3 isn't. It's still a lot less than you're expecting.
It's
Probably.
not a 1.
It's true.
Next deck?
Sure. Smithers. We've gone all this time. This is actually going to be the first just regular old Bluna aggro that we'll have seen. And it's going to be interesting, I guess, to compare this deck with number 2, Godot. Sorry, I should remember who I'm talking to. This is a blue-white aggro deck.
No, you don't get me wrong. This is a mono blue deck, but alloy is white.
Fair enough. Okay. That's the position I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it interesting to compare this construction versus the one that Godot took to second place. What has changed this compared to earlier editions? Well, property damage, GG, wanna bet, and that's actually it. Those are all the new cards.
Wanna bet is interesting card.
Yeah. Let me see. So Luna decks, this kind of Luna deck, I have to say that since Aura built a farm deck now. These kinds of Luna decks, let's see. I was gonna say, do they win face? Well, they win problem face-offs a lot. Problem maker face-offs is a little bit less clear. You got so many dilemmas after all. Like, the
Yeah, but
Smithers.
chances are you're gonna win some problem face-offs. I think that's the primary use.
Problem face-offs for sure. I should mention as well. We have the Smithers standard sanctuary constructions just for fierce loyalty as well. That's kind of his trademark now.
So this is a yellow deck. Blue-yellow is back.
It's never really been a yellow deck. Yeah, you have enough dilemmas that we assume that's your primary way of dealing with troublemakers. But yes, yeah, Bluna wins problem face-offs a lot, and it is just going to be 0 AT for 1 point most of the time.
Yeah. Well, a card in your hand is kind of 180, so.
Fair enough, yeah. But between that and your Night Gliders, GG's discard pile trigger. I want to make sure I don't miss anything else. Buckball Championship, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got a lot of point acceleration in here. And also, I guess I should say, actually, the problem deck is mostly 1 bonus problems. I mean, Final Question is, of course, for a dedicated aggro deck, Final Question is like a 4 bonus point problem, honestly. Often enough.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's Bluna aggro.
It's everyone. I remember the joke being made on stream. Well, not on stream. It was like something that I overheard. Before the tournament started, it was I believe it was Grandpa's talking to Smithers, saying that now that adventure's a thing, you don't have to. Oh no, right. It was during the core tournament. Yes. Or
What was the joke?
the joke was like, now that adventure's a thing, you don't have to run this deck just to just like keep insisting on it being a thing. Sorry. If you're still waiting for a punchline, that's it. Apparently, I
mean
forgot
this?
it.
You mean like this deck? You can't run this deck in
Yeah,
full.
I know it. It was funny when I heard it. All right. Shoot. But yeah. Who would have thought Smithers would bring Bluna aggro?
Bluna, yeah. Completely unexpected. Nobody. It's like Pancake playing farm.
Pancake Flame Farm, Sokol playing Seleno combo.
Seleno, yeah.
Yeah. It's just the way things are. So, moving on to our second place finisher. As I said, I wanted to compare and contrast these two lists. So this is number 2, Godot, who it's been a little while since we last saw Godot at a major event. If I recall correctly, he's been a versatile player in the past. Had a bit of a soft spot for pink, I think, generally, but here he is playing mono Bluna. And yeah, this is actually a pretty different construction.
Way fewer dilemmas and more friends.
Fewer dilemmas, more friends, no staff. More hasty stuff or less hasty stuff? I think probably more hasty friends, yeah.
I see Night Gliders, and I think that's it.
Thunderlane.
Thunderlanes.
Yeah, Thunderlane wasn't in. I already forgot. There's his deck list. The inclusion of the Spitfires as well is a kind of notable one. You know, given we've got more blue friends to work with, and frankly more expendable blue friends as well. Honestly speaking,
Yeah.
It's a pretty good anti-troublemaker tool, and well, it kind of fills the role of being more point acceleration because it's not just remove the troublemaker; it's defeat the troublemaker.
Yeah.
So you will get the point value off of it, which means that in this deck we have to put together Nightglider, Daybreaker, GG. Final questions in there, obviously, and this to say, well, yeah, and Wannabet, 3 copies of Wannabet. So yes, Godot's got a lot of ways to score extra points.
Yeah. I mean, as aggro decks usually want.
It's true.
It's rare to see an aggro deck without point acceleration.
Is this okay? It's not, but I was about to ask, like, is this like all the cards in blue that score extra points? And it's not, but it sure is most of them.
There's that event, which is when you win the fight. It's an Nightglider effect, but gives you only 1 point.
Yeah.
A pretty sad card.
Yeah, like there were a couple from High Magic, like that one, and I think there was
there's a Rainbow Dash that retires herself for a point. There are definitely more cards that say point on them. That's for sure.
I guess there's Soleno main, technically speaking, but like it's actually kind of weird now that I think about it. People think of white as the score points color, but there have been a lot of blue score points cards over the years.
Yeah. It's kind of both white and blue thing now. I think like in recent sets, it's more of blue thing than white, really. What did we get in white that scores points? We got Mistmane, we got there's blue-white Sweetie Belle. What else?
Well, let me look it up here quickly.
I guess we got Throne.
White. Core. Points.
There was that. I think it was Ultra in Fond Memories.
Oh, I guess. Yeah, Throw Me a Bone does score points, doesn't it?
Does it?
Or maybe it doesn't. Wait. So we have All Under Control was in Fond Memories. Score points equal to that problem's bonus if you've confronted it this turn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Throw Me a Bone does score a point. Other than that,
which is what that card is known for sure.
Yeah, actually, that's it. Going back to Mistmane.
Yeah, and I mean, even before Mistmane, like I was thinking, since Defenders, when I said recent sets, like what we have Mistmane, we have Throne, we have that. Well, it wasn't Sweetie Belle, it was Scoodle, right? But it's a blue-white card; it doesn't count, and neither does Pony. So, like, since Defenders, it was Mistmane and Throne in addition to that in white. So, like, white hasn't been getting a lot of cards that score you points recently.
Yeah, which is, I mean, I can understand that Mistmane kind of made an impression and has been admirably filling the void. But yeah, maybe white needs a little bit more of that. Kind of one of its big identities.
Yeah. Remember when photo finish was a thing? But then Mistmane came around and kind of swiped her away.
Kind of just was better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, frankly, looking at the returns of that search, White's had more things that stop the opponent from scoring points than stuff that score you points. Between Prospecting Interruption and Thons and
Yeah.
anyway, there's our tangent ticked off the box.
Yeah. Checking that one
Uh-huh.
of the checklist for the stream.
Shall we get to Bugle's deck?
Sure.
Alrighty, so number 1 list. As I mentioned, we were done with having more than one color index. This is mono orange. And this deck, I believe he described it, I was careful, he described it as a control farm.
So an
Elements of both.
anti-farm.
Yes.
Because when I played control farm, everybody called it anti-farm. Therefore, all control farm decks are anti-farm.
Therefore, I guess so. And there's no real mistake in that, given that we're looking at a problem deck that is virtually impossible for him to confront.
Yeah, but like, who confronts their problems anymore?
Okay. Oh, Bugle's here. Thank you. Okay. Mono farm is what he calls it. Fair enough. Well, yeah. As I say, who confronts their problems? Definitely not Bugle in this deck. Granted, he is hoping for Under the Weather to stay out for as long as possible, which is one of the ones that he can confront. Because, yeah, it being out makes all of these exhaust stuff cards way better.
Wow, it makes Ambassador of Loyalty life miserable, I would assume.
Well, yeah, actually, fair enough. But other than that, well, Bugle has got about the same number of epics as everybody else. Splits the difference, gives us both Trixie and Starlight, so we don't have to worry about the argument over which is better. We got them both.
Yeah, but instead of Point of Shadows again, which is interesting.
Right.
Just like that was the Sketchbeam thing, right? He didn't have Point of Shadows, but he had Trixie.
Right. But in Orange, well.
Yeah, but here you don't really like, especially if you get Applejack out of your Point of Shadows in the time when you don't want her.
Yeah,
you're pretty sad.
Yeah, it's a lot worse in Orange than it is in Blue, generally speaking. The only, I guess, Big Mac would be a kind of an interesting poll. But almost all the others, I guess Apple Bloom's fine one to have without paying for.
Yeah.
But yeah, and yeah, as mentioned, Applejack, Captain of the Seven Seas, has a chance to just totally screw you over if it comes out.
Yeah. And like Big Mac, I think you hope to flip him instead of playing him.
Yeah, of course. What's better than plus one power counters on mains? Nothing.
They should print the main with that effect.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's forgotten what happened the last time we did that.
It was fine. I mean, there isn't even that much control in here, right? There's the main and a bunch of exhaust effects.
Right.
But it's not like a full-blown control deck or anything.
That is kind of the thing with Orange, is that, yeah, you're not going to have any hard removal. granted, right, the combination with like Apple Bloom saying that all of your events are bailouts, like, does give you some
Yeah.
pretty good delay. Granted, you can only use her once per turn. But yeah, we're
Yeah.
essentially taking Orange's control tools as far as they will go, while understanding that, well, we have no way to actually get rid of the opponent's stuff.
But maybe that's fine. Maybe we don't want to get rid of opponent's stuff. Like, looking at the other decks, there are no real friends that like require hard removal, or at least nothing that exhaust doesn't deal with.
Yeah, see, oh, okay, right. Sorry, Bugle, thank you. Captain Jack, yes, can get rid of stuff. Forever. Tis a good point. Yeah, it's interesting. The only deck that I would think to bring up would be Cheese's control deck. Like, those are cards you want to get rid of, but hey, they exhaust themselves, so fine and dandy. Orange is okay dealing with a deck like that.
Yeah. Yeah, like getting rid of AT gens is pretty powerful. If you can't, but yeah, but they exhaust themselves. But like in all those aggro decks, exhausting cards is enough to slow them down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you have your villains.
Yeah, with all the Bluna running around, this is probably one of the most face-off oriented, both with farm and Bluna aggro there is. And exhaust happens to be great if your opponent wants to win a lot of face-offs.
Yeah. Bugle, have you ever played Barrel Through outside of a face-off? Because I think it's still like really good.
If you've got
because
Apple Bloom out,
it's an orange event.
It's
exactly.
useful. Yeah.
Like, yeah. Like, Bluna is about to do a double face-off or whatnot, and just play Barrel Through. Could be enough.
Frankly, yeah. Especially if you got more than one Apple Bloom out.
Oh yeah.
All right. Says you didn't need to.
I didn't need to.
But yeah, it is a thing you can do. Gee, actually, well, yeah. Just looking at the problem deck, even given the 6 that he can't confront, well, they are pretty darn useful, either being additional flips or blackmail.
I'm so happy that blackmail makes its way into other decks too. Before it was like every control decks runs this, but other decks not so much. But now even farm decks run blackmail.
I mean, this is still a control deck. I mean, it's a. I guess. Well, I guess Bugle was here. He said it's a farm deck, but yeah. Oh, that's an interesting thought. Bugle mentions that he used power play to deal opponent's default. I assume you mean that it was a face off where you had basically nothing, and they had just DFO'd clean, and you just flipped. I guess 2 additional cards probably, and just yeah. I mean, there are situations where that would just potentially just win you the whole thing.
If you have an Apple Bloom, you also exhaust their character.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Starlight glimmers, the non-villain ones. Interesting that we didn't see them in other decks. I guess they don't, like, the blue decks don't need her as much.
Yeah, like
nowadays because of the problem.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because of tarnished. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bluna, Aracat's Bluna style doesn't care, because Bluna's gonna be showing up to the party late most of the time, regardless. But yeah, tarnished reputation takes care of the idea, for especially off the start, which is when most of those blue decks need it. anyway.
Yeah. Good old play. I played 2 troublemakers turn 1.
Mhm.
Next turn, one of them is Starlight, the other one is Villain. Or just an epic. That works too.
Yeah. As long as it's not Chrysalis.
Yeah. Be pretty funny though.
Oh. Yeah, Bugle mentioning that he almost didn't until he remembered that he was playing an orange farm deck and not a blue deck. Alrighty. So yeah, that brings us to the end of the lists from the tournament. Unless you have anything that you want to add quickly, Hithroc?
Needs more purple.
I mean, it's difficult to disagree. It needs more. Huh. I was about to say it needs more yellow. I think that might not be true. I think we've probably seen enough yellow, frankly. There was a Fluttershy deck there. It was Combo Breaker at the bottom of the field. Otherwise, yeah, that was actually all the yellow. I think it is finally time that we can say it is okay to see not a lot of yellow anymore. Like, yellow had a big debt to pay off from being useless for like 2 years. But it's fine. I'm finally okay with there being maybe not as much yellow around anymore.
We need old money back.
Well, speaking of, I think that's a good segue into the next section. Because just this past week, Commentaries Magic did put on a stream about future plans for making new well, not new sets per se, new content for the game.
Mm-hmm.
With the upshot essentially being, well, I don't know if they said anything definitive about sort of future plans for new sets, but that the next big thing they're working on is going to be a supplement, quote unquote, more along the lines of what Celestial Solstice and Rock and Rave were. Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually, I just watched the stream this morning, full confession. But that was probably the part of it that I was most interested in, was that they're taking it more as a like a supplemental release from them per se, if I'm understanding them right, is not going to be a unit like Rock and Rave or Celestial Solstice was, but instead is almost like a patch release, kind of, where they can put a few cards into a Harmony only supplement set, and a few into an Adventure only supplement set, well, Adventure and Harmony, and a few into Core, right? And kind of put some targeted cards into each of those metas. Was the way that I understood it, at least.
I think so, but were they different by formats? Like,
So,
did they mention that there will be cards that are just for core and nothing else? Doesn't sound right.
No. Yeah, anything that goes into Core will go into Harmony and Adventure too,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
But they release into the generic fixed set if they want it to be Harmony only. And I think if you want it to be Adventure and Harmony, you put it into Sands of Time, I think.
I guess.
And then for Core, you put it. You have to make a new supplement set for that.
Yeah.
But anyway, upshot being that we can expect sometime this year a release of that sort, a sort of mini 30 to 40 card supplement. Yeah, which I think is ultimately, I don't remember if they were planning to get it out before Continentals or after.
Well,
I mean, either one would work.
I guess we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I have like strong opinions one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, as it is with most games, you don't want to drop a major new thing too close to the start of a major tournament, because you want things to be relatively settled going into something like Continentals. So I think probably chances are after Continentals more than before, but probably right after. And in large part, I guess, in summary, there's never anything wrong with new cards.
As long as they're tricksy.
I think,
which none of the cards we have here are, so that's disappointing.
Well, we only have 2.
Yeah, and none of them are tricksy.
None of them are tricksy. It's true. I guess, yeah. Let's just quickly go over the 2 cards that were shown on that stream. The first being the card that was designed at, what was it? It wasn't last year's Cider Fest. It was 2 years ago Cider Fest, right? Or was it last year's Cider Fest? It was at a Cider Fest. I'm pretty sure it was.
Oh yeah, it's the panel thing.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, the card that was designed at the panel at some convention somewhere. Yeah, blue and pink, 2 cost, 2 rec. Yes, last year. Okay, thank you, Prism Light. In blue and pink, at immediate speed, choose an opposing character at a problem, move one of your characters to that problem. Those characters can contribute their power to face-offs or confronting problems this turn. So, a nice general mix in blue and pink. This is funny because, like, again, having contributed to the design of the card, I know what the intention behind it was. This is the one card where we can say with 100% certainty what the intention behind making it was. Yeah, to be a kind of a little bit aggressive and a little bit controlling at the same time, kind of thing. Now that I'm looking at it, right, with the retrospect of knowing what blue and pink has up its sleeve these days, this is an okay card for Gallus Farm, being an immediate event in his colors.
I hope that's not the only it's quality that's useful for Gallus.
Well, I mean that's the major qualification. It is admittedly, like, the thing is, in Gallus Farm you would play this during a face-off, obviously. And you generally, it is one of the cards that you would want to play before the face-off was over, which is good.
Yeah.
You would lose the benefit of the confronting problems thing because presumably you're playing it well, if you're playing it in a troublemaker face-off, then that's really good, actually, I guess. Well,
But you gotta have like an opposing character to problem. It's kind of specific.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't play it during a stick face-off, I guess. No, well, I mean, unless there's an opposing character at a problem.
Which probably is.
Yeah, it does happen most of the time, I guess, right? So, yeah, it seems generally applicable, I guess, most of the time. It's
like, it's 2 ET for 1 point. That's not that good.
Yeah. It is a card that is going to require, to get the most value out of it, you definitely need to plan a bit. Because, there's a lot of things that are actually happening when you play this card. There's an opposing character who's getting sort of turned off, and also one of your characters is getting moved. Because of the sort of way that it works, given that your character also can't contribute power to face off or confronting problems, probably best to play it on the opponent's turn.
Yeah.
There are actually a number of moving pieces to it, which is one of the reasons that I really liked the design when it came out. Sorry, I've been kind of monopolizing it. You're free to say whatever you want about it.
No, I think you said everything right. Really have anything to add? It's a specific card.
Mm-hmm. And then the other one, which we mentioned, Sim mentioned, this is the create a card for Double Our Forest from last year's Continentals. The honor kind of worked its way down to him over the results. Fleetfoot, Draft Horse, which I gotta say, really good name. Like that. 1 cost, 2 rec, 1 power. Traveler. And when you move a character with power greater than this card's power to a problem, you move this card to that problem.
Ooh.
Yeah. During SimStream, Aracat brought up the synergy with Party Mare, which, frankly, that kind of sticks in my head because that's pretty awesome, honestly. You do need. Wait a second. Shoot.
Party Mare, but what about Shoeshine?
Shoeshine's great too, frankly. That also works. I always forget. If Shoeshine was at 1 power and you move her to a problem, does that trigger this?
No. Because you move her to a problem and then triggers, things get triggered.
Mm-hmm.
Which it will be Traveler, Shoeshine's Traveler, and this card at the same time.
Right.
And since you don't meet the condition when this triggers, nothing happens.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because it's part of the condition to trigger, right? When you move a character with power greater than this card, it's not
right.
part of
okay.
It doesn't say when you move a character and if that card blah blah blah. If it said if
if it was when you move a character, comma, if that character's power is greater than this card's, okay.
Yeah.
Important distinction. So the character needs to have more power when it starts.
Yeah.
Or wait. So what if it moves into a continuous modifier that gives it +1 power? That still doesn't count because the trigger's at the start of the move?
No, I think it does work because I think it would I think triggers are after continuous modifiers are applied. I think it's continuous modifiers first and then the triggers. That's why when you move things to Trixie, they don't work. But when you move things out of Trixie, they do work.
Right. Okay. Why is moving actually the most complicated thing in this game?
Are you sure?
Well, I was being facetious there. I am well aware that if you want to get down into the weeds, you will find a tangled mass of weeds. In that Eldritch Horror that is the rule book. Okay. Yes. Coming back to more mainstream discussion, as Prism Light points out, great card for Flight Instructor, which is true. The blue deck that kind of will set up the sort of conga line modern times of stuff moving to problems. As I can be counted on to notice, great in blue-purple if you move an opposing character with power greater than this card's power to a problem.
Yeah.
That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, I like you would need a blue purple deck that would want to do that though.
Yeah,
That would want to run this card. That is.
yeah.
So it would need to be some kind of Aggro-ish deck. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you're playing blue purple in aggro, then yeah. Although you have so many good options, like I don't think blue purple even have a lot of space, right? Because you have your daring do's, you have your other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Just so much stuff.
it's a full pool for that color combination. It's true.
With Spike, you can move her twice.
Mm,
One
that's
from
a good
Spike's
point.
move and one from the opposing move.
Yeah, as long as both triggers fulfill the condition, then yes, quite possible. You would also need to make sure that um, you move the characters to different problems so that
Yeah,
this
yeah,
card still moves.
yeah.
Right. But yeah, those were the two that we've seen properly, art and everything. I guess there was a conversation in Discord, which I guess is newsworthy. I don't know if you saw it.
I heard there are plans for Trixie.
Really? Did you? Where from?
I think GP mentioned. He must have mentioned something about Trixie.
Okay, maybe he did. Maybe it just sort of blended into the background noise for me. I was referring to Grandpa's. I don't know if it was yesterday or 2 days ago. Sort of question regarding the sort of scaling events. So
Like with X.
yes, yeah, events that have a base cost and then a sort of the ability to pay more AT to replicate the effects multiple times. Um, I don't remember the exact things that they did, but it was one idea that was being thrown around, which is kind of interesting. I think
Yep.
that's a like that's the kind of thing that it kind of comes into lots of card games. Like I come back to Magic, a lot of those cards have the ability to sort of pay extra costs to do extra things on them.
Yeah.
And that's something that I feel like this game could use at least some of that.
In this game, it's going to be harder because you can bank resources. Like in Magic, you only have so much mana
Hmm.
per turn, but not here.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to balance for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, you've got to kind of the initial cost is your kind of cost of entry,
Yeah.
and that's I guess the primary thing that you're balancing out. The requirement as well, I guess, is going to be an important consideration on cards like that.
Oh, maybe you know how every set has like an entry resource.
Hmm.
You could make an entry resource where the more AT you pay, the more colors you get. So it's
Isn't
kind of like Barrel, but unlike Barrel, you like it's kind of like mix between Barrel and motivational speech, I guess,
right? Well, it's
where
also
you could pay 6 AT and get all 6 colors permanently,
right. Isn't that what Rainbow Generator
as
does?
long as the resources in play. No, Rainbow Generator gives you like it's just for one turn, right? You play Rainbow Generator and then you pay 1 AT to get that color for one turn. But what I'm okay, so here's the text.
Okay.
When you play this card, for every extra AT you spend, choose an extra color, and your main has those colors.
Just as a
So it's kind of
constant.
like motivational.
Right.
Yes.
I see. Like speech. Okay.
Yeah, it's like speech, but kind of like barrel too, right? Because barrel you can use multiple times.
Hmm.
It'd be really good. It'll be like, I guess, a straight upgrade from speech, unless you make it cost 2,
Yeah.
which would make it bad.
That's is that better than barrel? It's not better than barrel.
It depends. The main thing about barrel is that the color you get from barrel, like the opponent can do nothing about that, right? Because like once you played your barrel, that's it, and you can bring it back and you can get that color again.
Yeah.
Unlike speech, where it's on the field and it can get removed, it's more vulnerable.
Mhm. Yeah, that would be like, because you're front loading the AT cost, you're more vulnerable to immediate speed resource removal.
Yeah.
And as mentioned, because once the resource goes away, the colors go away.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, that might actually be an interesting spot. I don't know if Sim would go there, given that it is kind of, well, so very close to what Barrel already did, and they, I kind of don't like reprinting mechanics that are really, really close to what other cards did. But
I wouldn't
it's,
say. Yeah, I think it's closer to speech than barrel. But
regardless, it's interesting. It's admittedly an interesting way of doing it. For what it's worth, the discussions that were had were, as far as I'm aware, only about events, not about like friends or resources. But obviously, once it's been done in one way on one type of cards, well, you have to imagine scenarios, and that mechanic is open enough to apply to other kinds of cards.
yeah, I mean, we kind of have similar. The student 6 main is kind of already a scaling thing, where you don't have like X in terms of AT, but you have X in terms of counter on the card.
Right.
And I think it's not the only one. I think we have some other cards that do similar things, where you remove a certain amount counters to do something. Just can't remember them now. Wasn't there like a dismiss?
Oh, well, I mean, it sounds kind of close to Party Bomb, but not quite.
Oh yeah, Party Bomb was one of them. Why not?
Well, you don't remove the counters. You just, or wait, do you?
Oh, you retire a resource, like
Right,
you
you
remove
retire the
Party Bomb.
card.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which is also a way to get rid of counters. Technically removes counters from the card.
Tis true. Tis true. Anyway, I think overall, I received the news of the supplement, well, announcement, I guess, broadly positively. As I said, no complaints about new cards, and Sim kind of mentioned the rationale given the current situation with material for flavoring,
Mm-hmm.
and with kind of the spot that we're in general with respect to the broader MLP franchise. That maybe a smaller release is better for now rather than a full new set, and I think that's a reasonable argument to make.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I think, you know, I'll admit, going into the stream and having seen the announcement, I was expecting a lot less, right? Because my brain's been conditioned to expect the first spoilers after Continentals, and so I was expecting them to go up and be like, "Oh yeah, new releases. Yeah, there's definitely gonna be another set." And that's about it.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah. But no, to see actual new cards, that's really great for this time of year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're both creator cards, so it's kind of cheating. But I think we'll see more stuff soon. Yeah.
Otherwise, I think that brings us to the end of our content this stream. Is there anything else you wanted to mention?
Trixie.
Of course, Trixie. Right. So, thank you everyone for coming out and joining us. It is a bit of a longer stream today than we usually do, but given how long we'd been off, it kind of seems justified.
We're making up for the missed time.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
far as we were aware, the future is well, we're going to be on for another stream in 2 weeks from now. That would be the 28th of May. Hopefully, yeah, I guess probably seems like a good bet that there'll be at least something else with regard to the supplement to discuss by then. And if not, we'll find something else to talk about. Otherwise, until then, I've been Cursor Chords.
I've been Hithroc.
And we'll see you then.
I think I'm lagging. Bye.